Welcome to the Motoring Podcast, a weekly discussion of motoring news. This is episode 702 on Tuesday, the 4th of August, 2026. Hello, I'm Alan.
Hello, I'm Andrew. And this week you'll hear about how it's a bad time to be an automotive worker in Europe. In new car news, you will listen to us ask how much marketing got involved in one car. And in points of interest, you will go back to the future.
That was a very singular us for what's coming up there.
And we have some follow-up, and it involves Volkswagen Group, and it involves their plans for cost-cutting, because the financial results have come out for the first half of 2026, and they were in the ungood column, really, and it has meant that the focus is returned once again quite heavily onto what the plans are to save money and to make sure that they are a lean, mean, fighting automotive machine for the next millennium or some such silliness. What happened really is that they generated £135 billion worth of revenue across the group, which is almost the same as 2025, but their profits dropped 11.6%, which is really not good.
Yes, that's for the first 6 months of 2026.
Yeah.
Compared to the first 6 months of 2025. That's not for the entire year.
Yeah, absolutely. Then allowed them to bring out the reasons why there were the problems, because it has nothing to do with anything that has happened in the past to the company, like Dieselgate and the knee-jerk reactions following that, and then the trying to fix the knee-jerk reactions, and then trying to fix the knee-jerk reactions to the knee-jerk reactions. None of that was the problem. It's all down to trade restrictions, geopolitical tensions. Now that they have proper competition, I don't think, when it comes to electric cars, increased competition. No, I think the competition was already there and you were trying to muscle your way in, as were virtually all the other European manufacturers. Let's be honest about that. Also, they talk about how emission regulations are fluctuating. Why is that, though? Car companies who have lobbied very hard and very expensively to get certain things changed. Okay, as we keep saying, no one could have predicted what the US government would do and how insane it would be, and how there is no rhyme nor reason to it, and you cannot anticipate the next mad thing that is going to come out from that. All companies deserve some credit for that one. That is not their fault.
No. Just as a reminder, that's not necessarily down to US car companies. That's down to dealer groups in the US who see a potential drop in turnover and profits with EVs because there's less servicing, etc., etc., etc. And so they're the ones who are against EVs, not necessarily the car companies in North America. Let's be very clear about that.
Yeah, and then if you throw on top of that the tariff silliness, that's just insane as well, then the car companies have had no chance to be able to anticipate those two things were going to happen, and they are huge, absolutely massive. Mm-hmm. Therefore, obviously, then the conversation has to be around what are you going to do to fix all this, and there is the talk that we've heard for several weeks now about job losses and how they're going to pare down the offerings their brands give to customers, in terms of models, in terms of trims, and try and hopefully reduce the complexity between different cars and try and hone that down again. Sort of thinking, why wasn't this honed down before? I thought you were all into this sort of stuff, but okay.
Yeah, but you say that, but you know what internal politics are like? Because what should happen is there should be a Volkswagen, right? And then a sporty version of the Volkswagen should be a Cupra, and a slightly more pared down version of the Volkswagen is going to be a Seat, and a slightly more luxurious version of the Volkswagen is going to be a Skoda.
Because that's not how it used to be.
Yeah, exactly. And nobody really knows what an Audi is. They're just like, well, whatever, and that's an Audi. But the trouble is, so there shouldn't be a sporty Volkswagen version of something which is already sporty that's sold by Seat. That should be your differentiation between stuff. But everybody, of course, wants to keep their turf, and have their little walled garden, and that's going to happen. So you're going to end up with all the brands fighting each other, and and they'll do this. They will slash a whole load of stuff, but then it'll all come creeping back again, because that's what happens. The market wants a sporty version of this Skoda. Yeah. Okay, well,
but as we have discussed many, many times about Stellantis, this is not a recipe for success. That you are fighting each other for the same customer is just daft and silly. And so there should be a grown-up at the top going, you stop that now, children. This is how we're going to do things. And hopefully this is what is going to happen. So then they can actually right the ship and sort themselves out and start to get some... So it's not as... Because at the minute, it seems to have been a couple of years or several years of just chaos.
Yeah. If it were me, if I ruled the world, come in, get rid of the SUV coupes. Immediate way to get rid of that.
I'm voting for you.
That's my first thing. The next one really is to make sure that when we're trying to pare stuff back, we don't end up competing against each other with vehicles with the same body panels. Which is the other Stellantis problem, is you can't tell, sure, everything, look at the cost savings on this. We're using the same C-pillar across all these 3 cars. And the trouble is that what happens is that the market can't tell the difference between the cars.
No, I was discussing just this on Blue Sky earlier.
Right. And that's the worry, is that they go too far.
Yeah.
And you end up with the Stellantis problem of, but they're all the same.
Yeah.
At least a bizarre, I can't even believe I'm saying this about Volkswagen Group, at least you can tell the difference between the brands in Volkswagen.
Yeah, absolutely.
And long may that continue. And, and don't get rid of the nice stuff like the metal door handles and stuff on the inside. We don't want little buttons. Little buttons are rubbish.
We talk about how they're going to share parts more and all the rest of it. I couldn't believe when I had a quick drive and an ID7 that it had completely different switchgear.
Yeah, I mean, there's some stuff that's completely bat poo that really should be the same. Because if you get into a Mazda, it used to be if you got into a Mazda 2, or you got into a Mazda CX-5, then it was the same stalk.
Yeah.
It's the same vents. They might be used in different places on the dashboard, but it's the same flipping vent.
Well, but VW used to be renowned for sharing internal switches across all the brands, wasn't it? That was one of their things. It was a little bit of a joke and all the rest of it. But the economies of scale, etc. Oh, anyway, before we give a free consultation to how Volkswagen can fix their company, just note in the show notes, there's 4 links here. There's 2 to some Autocar articles. There's 1 to an elect drive, which actually discusses how difficult any restructuring is going to be for the Volkswagen board because of the strength of the unions. And it's not just the unions, but the shareholders as well. We've talked about this many times over the years. This is a constant issue for them.
Well, one of the troubles is that, of course, it's the shareholders who are going to have to pay the unemployment benefit for the people from the factories because it's owned by the region.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff in that structure. That's just one of them. Obviously, the strong unions is a constant German challenge.
Yeah, but there was, I dropped in late an article from Car Scoops because it gives some context as to how big a challenge this is going to be, because it compares Toyota against VW, which I think is a pretty fair comparison because of the numbers of vehicles that are produced in the markets they're in and all this sort of stuff. But like it says here that Volkswagen employs just under 630,000 people, whereas Toyota employ just a fraction over 390,000 to make more cars than VW did. Now, some of that is because VW does a lot of stuff in-house, whereas Toyota has suppliers that they use that are effectively in-house, but they're not technically in-house and they're not paying their wages, as it were. There's that sort of thing. So that comes into it a little bit, but it also shows how employee dense the company really is.
It's just funny you going through that. We quite often have this challenge where people say, "Oh, what are the numbers what should the numbers be for a company like ours that does what we do?" And it's like, well, we can't tell you. Well, A, we don't know because everybody's different.
Yeah.
And B, we can't tell you because if we knew from another company, then we'd be giving away their secrets.
Yes.
You'd have to actually speak to them and actually make friends with them and share the stuff officially. But we can't do that. So you're never going to know.
Yeah.
Note I work for ethical companies, not any of the big 5.
Yeah, quite. So you don't use AI to just produce stuff to say how great AI is?
No.
Do you want to take us on to new news anyway?
Yes, well, it's related. It's very related. Porsche which is, I don't know, I still can't work out if this is positive or not, but if you're in it for the money, it's positive. Profits are recovering from a dire 2025. They're saying that deliveries are down, but the margins are up, as the firm supposedly is already pivoting to its value over volume strategy, which I think is poop. I think it's luck in the fact that they probably backloaded last year with an awful lot of the debts and losses which would otherwise be carried into this year, which would be in the period where their new strategy has allegedly started. But a strategy is something that you do over 5 or 10 years. It's not something which magically solves everything overnight. But otherwise, why the hell weren't you doing it before?
Yeah, I agree with you on that, because it's only a couple of weeks or a few weeks ago that they announced this is as part of a strategy without making it the full official announcement of what the strategy is.
Yeah, so I actually think that whilst it's a lovely thing for everyone to say in the press releases, or for Porsche to say in the press releases with their hand behind their back and the fingers crossed, and then for people who don't know any better to just repeat it from the press release, then I don't believe that is the case in the slightest.
No.
One thing they are also saying is that the 911, of course, which is the whole focus of the strategy of we'll do less but charge more. Make more, is going ahead while the other models decline. Well, partly that's because they've stopped making the other models.
Yeah.
Or decided they're not going to make the models that were meant to replace the other models. And I have a bit of a theory about that. And that theory goes back to our previous story about the wider Volkswagen group. And I reckon that, because there was a thing that the new leader said that he didn't want people to be choosing Porsche because it was the cheapest one and it was the best one on the company car list or something.
Yeah.
My opinion on that was it was the best one on the company car list because it was the Porsche.
Yeah.
And that's why it didn't depreciate and all these kind of things. And of course, Porsche don't really care about that because they don't make the same money on the used. Well, you would think they'd make more in some cases in the used market than the new market, but it's the new market that everybody counts and everybody thinks about. That's what matters to investors and shareholders and all these other people who don't really care about good quality products. But the other thing is that if Audi aren't selling very well and Volkswagen aren't selling very well, then it's very difficult for something like the Macan, to take an example, to get the economies of scale that were planned for it.
Mm-hmm.
Because you really need the Audi version to be the volume version, and then the Macan or whatever to ride on its coattails with door handles that are shared across the Porsche range and that kind of thing, even though they're in the same position, and to make the money that way.
Mm-hmm.
But if the Audis aren't selling, then you're not going to get the same funding. Similarly with all of the vehicles of your Bentayga, Urus, Touareg, Audi Q7, and Q8, I think, is on the same platform. If those models aren't selling, then Porsche can't get the economy of scale into the Cayenne.
Mm.
And also, why the heck do you have a hunchback Cayenne as well? That kind of stuff is, as I say, out of it. But that's really, I think that because the rest of Volkswagen Group aren't doing very well, then Volkswagen can't make the profits that they were making off the back of the SUVs and the common cars that aren't a 911, which leaves the only option being, okay, well, we have to give it a loan, and going it alone means 911, and it means smaller sports cars than the 911. And I'm sure that in 5, 6, 7, 10 years, the cycle will come back round again, and all of a sudden Porsche will find that it is making some form of more mainstream vehicle.
What worries me is the whole doubling down on 911s. I mean, there's a quote in here from the CEO of Porsche, and it just finishes off in this Autocar article linked in the show notes. And we still have a good idea of how we can make the 911 still further and better without diluting or cannibalizing wholesales of the 911. And there is only a finite number of people who can A, afford, and B, want a 911.
Yes, there are only so big a market for golden eggs.
And if you are gatekeeping them, particularly the top-end models like you have, because I expect there's going to be a ton of special editions, because you look at all the sports car companies that are in trouble. What do they double down on? They come out with these, really ultra rare special editions that the collectors must have and all the rest of it. That is a short-term plan.
Oh, that's a sticky plaster, that is.
That is not a long-term strategy. That is not a long-term aim, because your aim is to make the main model the best thing. that worries me because they had to start making SUVs because the sports cars, if we remember, because the sports cars weren't making enough money for them.
Yeah, but this is how they've done this before. This isn't the first time for Porsche with this kind of stuff. Let's just see. Who knows? Who knows? It could be absolutely the right thing. I started off going, oh, this is some consultancies come in and told them to do the opposite of what they're doing at the minute, and everyone's fallen for it. It must have been a lovely PowerPoint. And the more I thought about it, I thought, no, actually, this might make sense to a level, and this might be the reasoning behind it. But very much supposition on my part.
Yeah, but seeing the reasoning and it being successful are two very different things, though.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely agree. Absolutely agree. This is what happens when I have long car journeys on my own.
He has got someone bothering him. Anyway, I'm going to stick with Germany, and we're moving over to BMW, and their results are out, and their results are not the greatest either. It has turned around that they had an 8% decline, again in the first half of 2026, an 8% decline in revenue, which was compared to the same period in the previous year. Their pre-tax profits fell just over 29%, and their margin dropped 2 percentage points to 6.5%, which is really not what the shareholders thinking of their dividends want to see at all. As a result of this, BMW have leapt on the let's fire some people, downsize our operations in terms of employees, as they are going to offer 8,000, or they want to shut down 8,000 positions, and they have offered severance to 40,000 employees, hoping that enough of them say yes, please. The company has put aside about €1 billion to deal with the severance packages, and this is targeting mainly office workers, and it is in Germany as well. But there are certain areas that they're really targeting, which makes me very nervous. They're going to target the group's headquarters and the Research and Innovation Centre in Munich. Now, at this moment in time, considering the pressure that all Western and Japanese car makers are under, thanks to the incoming Chinese brands, cutting down your research and innovation staff really should not be the thing you're doing, in my humble opinion. I am baffled with that.
It always amazes me when that's the bit that people cut rather than actually going, well, if we can, we're going to use this to power through differentiation and cool shizzle, and worst case, hopefully we can patent some of it.
Yep. But let's not dwell too long on that one. Should we move on to another? Yeah. Well, this is global company.
Oh, it's me this time, isn't it? It's a global company this time. We're super quick on this. It's Stellantis. Again, oh my goodness, we're doing really, really well. News, particularly from North American markets, which is a surprise, given, it is a surprise.
Yes.
Let's leave it at that, shall we? So 13% year-on-year increase in revenues to £37.3 billion, or 43.5 billion euros, or probably some number of dollars. Basically saying, improved sales in North America are helping there. They're in industrial free cash flow, about the same as last year. The profit margin was 1.8%, by the way. VW's going nuts at 3 point something.
Yeah.
Porsche at 6.5.
BMW are panicking at 6 point something, 6.4.
Yeah, 6.4. Despite what the numbers say, when it comes to being profitable, Stellantis are not doing it in the same kind of way as some of the German brands are. Revenue, on the other hand, in Europe, in the enlarged Europe, I don't know what the difference is there, but I imagine that's
North Africa and Asia Minor.
It might include North Africa, Turkey, and the UK, of course.
Yeah.
There's growth was supported. Well, sales increased 3% year on year, 7% including the Elite Motors. But they said the growth was supported by the smart car range, which is different from a smart car. This being, of course, the B segment-ish size, so the Grande Panda combustion engine, etc. I saw the first one of those on the road the other day, by the way. I hadn't really seen one out and about, and it looks really smart. Really liked it.
That's the best execution, in my opinion, of that body swapping across the brands that we were discussing earlier. Grim for Stellantis in Europe. They're hoping that the things like the Grandi Pandi will help them out, but also the fact that they're not just going EV and there's hybrids and all the rest of it as well.
Yeah. Worth mentioning, light commercial vehicles, they are the European leaders, 28.7% market share. But when you've got the same two vans branded as about 47 different things, that's what's going to happen, isn't it?
No flashbacks there, Phil. No flashbacks. Anyway, I'm going to bring us back to the UK now, and we're going to talk about JLR, as they have announced a new UK MD. Cian O'Brien is going to take over from Patrick McGillicuddy, who is moving to be the MD of Defender. Cian is stepping up from JLR's UK Market and Business Operations Director position. The Defender MD that McGillicuddy is replacing is Mark Cameron, and he's off to be North America CEO because he is replacing Joe Urbanhart, who has stepped down last month. Oh, lots of new nameplates on doors.
Lots of movements
in JLR. No pressure for O'Brien with quite a big year coming up, potentially. I mean, if these cars actually come out in this time. Or maybe it's a big year for marketing anyway.
Yes. Meanwhile, in the meantime, we can look forward to scoops of the forthcoming Defender GT, I'm sure.
Yes, quite. Anyway, do you want to finish out the first part of the show in which we have caught up with an awful lot of industry news this week?
Well, what we have is actually in true Have I Got News For You style, we've got a quiz. And the quiz is, which company does Maria Grazia Davino work for now? Do you might remember Maria Grazia from such stories as working for Stellantis, managing director and CEO of Stellantis UK. And then you'll remember that prior to that, she was at Lamborghini, amongst others. After Stellantis, she then went off to become regional managing director of BYD Europe, leading all the operations across Germany, Austria, Switzerland, Poland, Hungary, the Czech Republic, Slovakia, and the Nordic countries. Where do you think you'd go after being a high flyer with a Chinese brand?
Not where you've ended up.
Ford. She is now the Vice President of Sales for Ford of Europe, and she'll begin that role on October the 1st, 2026. Congratulations, but a lot of job swapping going on there.
Yes, that's a lot of movement very quickly, which is, of course, no problem. And, nobody has to sit in the same job.
No, it just... unusual at that level.
I'm curious why one would leave BYD Europe, considering the march they are on, if all the figures are to be believed and understood, to go to Ford Europe. Maybe it's the whole hero arc. If Ford turn around their woes, and you could say you played a significant part in it. I don't know.
Quite possibly. Having a plan would maybe be part of that. So
maybe
see.
it was that they're going to develop or become the Porsche for rally cars.
Something like that, yes. Oh, goodness me. But on the other hand, she does have experience in the big players in Europe, as well as one of the big Chinese players. So that's valuable experience that not a lot of people have yet.
I can see why people would want her.
In between making jokes, yeah,
I can see why people would want her in their company and would want her leading things up. I wonder what the actual plan for Ford is then, because it must have been really fascinating for her to leave.
Yes, exactly. Well, that's the end of the first part and the doom and gloom zone, you'll be pleased to hear. But that means, of course, that it's Guilt Minute, a quick break in the show where we ask for a tad of financial support to keep the lights on and the hosting running. If you feel that Motoring Podcast is worth a small consideration every month, then you become a patron. Different levels of patron include different levels of commitment from us to you, including being able to watch the show recorded live. We also have a small range of merchandise in our spring store, from stickers to mugs and t-shirts. If you don't have any spare cash, and we do completely understand, then you can help us by following for free from our podcast player to receive every show as they're released, and by liking and rating the show, whatever way your podcast supplier lets you. If you've done all of that, and many of you do, so thank you very much, then the last thing you can do is to recommend us to your friends or colleagues.
Thank you, everyone who does.
Yes, absolutely.
Additional note now, in case people do not listen all the way through to the end, and if you don't, how dare you? But tomorrow evening, as we record this, so that is Wednesday, the 5th of August at 8 p.m. BST, on our YouTube channel, we will be having our roundup of recharging around Britain. We can't do the Thursday. We've had to move this several times from when we thought we were going to be able to do it for one thing and another. However, we're going to be doing it tomorrow. Hopefully you can join us. And if you catch this in enough time and you have any questions, do ping them to us in the usual manner in which you get our attention.
If they involve maths, please can you send them beforehand so that I can at least have a warm-up, add another column to my spreadsheet or whatever. That's all I ask from that. Anything else I think we can answer on the spur of the moment. But yeah, if it's a mathematical number-related question, then a little bit, by all means, still ask them, but a little bit of notice would be lovely.
Yeah. Right, let's move on to new car news, and I'm going to start with the Bentley Torcal. This is their electric SUV that is going to be coming out. We're going to have it revealed to us the end of September, I believe. There is an Autocar article linked in the show notes, by the way, everyone, so you can check that out. There is a lot of talk because there is little information available about how Bentley are choosing to make the electric SUV feel as special as a V8 SUV.
It's just worth saying, that Autocar article, it did catch me out until I read the caption properly. The picture at the head of it is an Autocar rendering. That is not necessarily what it's going to look like.
Yeah. But this is a big car not in terms of size, but I mean in terms of importance for Bentley. I know the company has been working hard to make sure that they enter the segment properly and they don't get caught out by what the market is expecting, wants, etc., as much as anyone can at the moment, because like we said earlier, who knows what's going to happen with government edicts. But apart from that, for talking about customers, they're expecting it to have 300 to 350 miles of range. It's going to cost from around £170,000. It's going to go up against the BMW iX, the Volvo EX90. Okay.
I would rather it than either of those.
Well, absolutely. And then also go on and take on the likes of the Rolls-Royce Spectre and the Ferrari Luce, which has been a resounding success. Don't forget, everyone, all 500 have been allocated. Yeah.
Because if you don't get one, you don't get the next one.
Yeah, exactly. That's what the things that was making me laugh. All these people going, look how wonderful it is. See, it's successful. All you people were wrong. Like, you have no clue why people have had to do that. Have you?
And either that, or it's automotive YouTubers who want to talk about it.
Yeah.
And they'll be on the used market super quickly. But there we go.
So do click the link in the show notes, and I'm asking you to do that for, first of all, to get more information than we're running into here, but also there is a video that is about a third of the way down. It's from Bentley's YouTube channel called Torcal, The Sound of Bentley. And you have to watch it and listen to what they say to believe it, because it is wonderful marketing. I will leave it at that, and then you go off and enjoy this on your own. I don't want to ruin your first experience of watching this video.
I haven't watched this yet, and you warned me of this before we started recording.
It's special.
Okay.
But good luck to Bentley, because this needs to be successful.
But I think the whole idea of a drum sound, by the way, just to go offside, is an interesting take instead of noises or synthetic V8, synthetic engine noises, which never really sound quite right.
No, they never do.
Some other kind of deep tone or set of tones is probably a very clever way of approaching the whole showing that there is speed taking place in the appropriate juncture in the fullness of time, whatever.
Anyway, shall we move on to the next one, Alan?
Rather than a driver hanging on going, in mid-overtaking manoeuvre when there's no sound at all from the electric car.
Good job we don't know any experience about that.
No experience about that. Talk about that one tomorrow night. Xpeng X9 MPV. Andrew's gone all twitchy there because it involved the word MPV, but it's really a big luxurious minibus. It's going to arrive in the UK in Q3 2026. It's an electric box with comfort inside, as far as we can tell.
Yes, there's not many images. I mean, the back end, though, why have they done an almost coupe thing at the back end?
Well, by that point, you're at the luggage area.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't really matter.
Mm.
It doesn't matter. You got to finalize it, finish it off somehow. And if it's not explicitly based on van, hello, whatever the Maybach is that's based on Vito, then you can get away with doing that. I
saw one of those. There's one round here. Someone has got one round here. I nearly crashed because it was going the other way. I couldn't believe someone had spent the money.
A Maybach VLS is what it is. I've seen a couple of Lexus LMs, but admittedly that was passing Glen Eagles and there was about to be a golf event on.
Oh, yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. In that kind of situation, makes a lot of sense. And there's also the LEVC L380, which is China exclusive. And the Volvo EM90, which is Geely rebadged, isn't it?
Yeah.
You could say that's about most of the range. The Xpeng will offer the X9 in Arctic White as standard, but unless you're in the wedding industry, you're probably not going to choose that. You can also have Silver Frost, Midnight Black, and Graphite Grey as optional. It says colours, I would say tones. And you can have the leather trimmed cabinet in either Meteorite Black or Moonshadow Coffee.
You're going to have it in the black. Let's be honest. If you're transporting other people, you're not having it in
I would have it in the coffee, but that's
that's if it was your car.
Yeah, but it just
you don't like people being luxurious in the same car as you.
Yeah, barely. You play with the ventilation and stuff.
They might eat things in there and everything.
I don't do that. Sorry, the only things that are banned in my car are crisps because it makes the steering wheel go all greasy.
Well, I just got a press car today from the round robin in the Northern Group of Motoring Writers, and somebody in the passenger seat front has been eating chocolate. I
do steer clear of chocolate in the Grim because I hate the thought of having to clean it out of the ultra suede seat. Although I did once have to clean McFlurry out of the passenger one once. So to say that I don't eat in my cars is not fair. Anyway, we've gone on a terrible tangent there.
Anyway, back to the Xpeng.
Yeah, Xpeng. That's it. Yeah, we've talked about the Xpeng. That was sorry. I kind of feathered out of interest there.
I don't know how big this market is, and it doesn't need to be big, really, does it? It's just it's a range topper. It would be interesting to try it and see what it was like, and whether my horrific prejudices actually are borne out or not. I mean, the interior looks. But the problem is, I'm going to be approaching this as a driver rather than as somebody sat in the back being transported. And I think there will be two very different experiences. I
agree.
This is not a family MPV for taking people round and dropping off at school, is it?
It is an Asian market.
Well, no, I know. But you know what I mean.
It's family MPV. I propose that Mrs. Windscreen sits in the back and gets ferried around.
She'd be delighted with that.
She would absolutely love that.
Right, we're going to move on to the final car in your new car news. And it's not actually a car. There we go. It is a quadricycle. Now, before you get all upset, trust us on this one. This is a less than 450 kilogram off-roading quadricycle that looks the business. It looks so cool. It has been designed by the chap who did the Audi R8 as well as the Apple Watch. You can have someone who does industrial design that can make a car that's actually exciting and interesting. Who knew, Alan? Who knew?
Yes.
Because I didn't believe that was possible in the last few months.
No.
But yes, it is.
Quite.
You need to read the article because there's a backstory to it. But I love the look of it. I love what it's trying to do. I love how niche it is as well. I think that's important.
What I like about this is it's not a golf cart, because golf carts are naff. And it's not one of those Polaris or Razor side-by-sides that you get, the 4-seat off-road things, which seem to always be snapping their suspension components. So I have nothing for off-road recovery people to hook to recover them when they've fallen over, snapped, or whatever else. And it fits into neither of those categories. It is somewhere in between, maybe slightly close to golf cart. But I think it's a modern mini moat.
Yeah.
As I said to you before we started, it's a modern mini moat doing the job, the kind of job that mini moats used to do. I mean, it can go up to 45 miles an hour. It's got a bit of range, sufficient amount of range that you would want to be exposed to. You can get it with some weather coverings as well. If you think back to what a moke is like, so it comes with a roof, and
I love the roof. That's it.
But you can get weather protection. The next version may well be more suitable for Northern Europe. The point to note.
I can see this being used if you're wealthy and have a lot of land, or you're a hotel that has a lot of nature stuff, and this can just go out and experience. You can experience the nature for wealthy clients, and this sort of thing. I mean, this is not this is not aimed at you and me. This is aimed at very wealthy individuals, which is such a shame because I'd love to. Well, I'd love one at 40 mile an hour. I'd do all my local driving in this. It'd be perfect.
There's going to be 3 base configurations: a 4-seat passenger vehicle, which is one of the pictures, a pickup that swaps the rear seats for open load bed, and a cargo van with a tall storage locker. It's also a Citroen Mahari. That's really where we're thinking here, folks. Prices for the one will start at around £24,000, and deliveries are remarked to begin in 2 years. I really like the idea. They've also not written off the idea of a right-hand drive conversion, which should be easy enough, really. Yeah.
No, I like this a lot. And that price is much better than I was anticipating as well.
Yeah. Oh, a range of around 62 miles. That's the figure that I couldn't find earlier. That's great. Loads. If you're doing 62 miles in a day in one of those between charging, okay, that's some serious usage. I would have thought that warranted something better, something car-y.
Feel a new road trip coming on.
No. In a word, no.
In December. How is this to go through Wales?
No.
Come on, you're from Scotland. You can manage it. Just put your big coat on, won't you?
Yes, but it doesn't mean I necessarily want to do it.
But equally, no.
Yes, quite.
Right, let's move on to points of interest then. And Alan, what's our lunchtime read?
A lunchtime read is from Haggerty from a couple of weeks ago, and it's called High Fidelity, The Story of House Yamaha. It's by Brendan McAleer. It's a really interesting kind of history of Yamaha, and how did Yamaha go from making organs to making superbikes and the Lexus LFA V10 engine and all sorts of stuff like that, and outboard motors. What is the link? How did that happen, and why did it happen? And in about 10 minutes, 15 minutes of reading, then you will learn all about the story of Torakusu Yamaha, the founder who was born in 1851, and how he ended up basically starting the company, and then how it ended up as we see it today, as you know, a company that can sell you a harp or sell you an engine block.
Yeah, great read, that one.
It's a cracking read, this one. I really can't recommend it highly enough.
I had no idea of the history here. Yeah, good find, that one. Good find. Okay, then that means then I'm going to move us on to the list of the week, and we're going to stick with Japan. And it is from Classic and Sports Car. It is titled 15 Quirky Japanese Cars of the 1990s. Now, this is possibly, particularly in our early years, couldn't have been a more motoring podcast list of the week if we tried.
No.
So, Alan, there's only 15 vehicles to pick from, so this is going to be quite tough for you, I would imagine.
Yeah, I'm glad I'm having to get to choose first in a way. But on the other hand, I've got about 4 backups if this had landed as being one of yours. I am going for number 6. That's slide 12 in your handout, because it's 2 per car. The Toyota Serra from 1990 to 1995, a Toyota Starlet Coupe with quite the coolest doors that in turn inspired the doors of the McLaren F1. Yeah, it's like a little mobile greenhouse.
Good choice, that. I like that.
Not exactly sporty. Most of them are automatic. Some of them that you might find still surviving around the place have had a Starlet Glanza engine and manual gearbox transplanted into them, and they can actually go a little bit But they are very heavy cars because of all that glass. But they're very cool. Love them.
Okay, I am going to change what I was going to pick because mine was a little bit too... There are some of the usual suspects that I feel our listeners would know. So I'm now going to change, and I'm going to go for the Daihatsu Naked.
All right.
Which was built between 1999 and 2004, and this is slide 18 and is car number 9.
Yes, I couldn't remember which one it was. Oh, yeah. Oh, and I've got everything out of line. I've got.
Did you go too fast?
Yeah,
remember,
I did
everyone, do not click too fast on these, as we have been instructed by classic and sports cars themselves.
Yes, I love the Daihatsu Naked as well. So cool because the idea was that all the bits that hold it together are exposed.
Yeah,
that's why it's called the Naked. So hence the door hinges, all the fasteners for the bumpers and the grille and all that kind of stuff is all there and visible on the outside of the car.
Yeah,
and the inside is similarly pared back. Really cool. Little K car.
Yeah, you put some chunky tires on that, and wow, you look like you're
Well, don't put too chunky on. Remember, it's only got a 660cc 3-cylinder engine with a limited number of horsepower, so you do actually want to make progress along the road.
Yeah,
but yeah, Naked is very cool.
Yeah, loads of others in there for you to have a look at. Do check the link in the show notes.
Yes. And finally, this week has then ended up and landed with me. And it is a YouTube video. It is 7 and a bit minutes long, and it is autodidact, talking about the history and the thinking behind the BMW i8. It is.
I just need to point out, though, before you go into this, because I know you haven't listened to this yet, but just to point out to Joe Simpson that this had already been selected as our and finally before either of us had heard the latest episode of Looking Out the Podcast, in which Joe strongly recommends that listeners go and watch this video.
Oh, really? Okay. I
picked it before then.
I haven't. Yeah, I've been, as I said, kind of busy. I haven't got around to looking at it. That's on my list for listening tomorrow morning after my first call. But yeah, this is excellent. An excellent video. I'm over 3/4 of the way through it, and it's really good. I love the i8. A very soft spot for the i8.
Yeah, absolutely. I still think it looks like the future now.
Yes, well, that's it. That's the whole thing. 13 years old. Since it was unveiled. Madness.
You got thrown around Alton Park in one, didn't you?
I did. It was also the very first press car I ever drove. At a BMW event.
I drove mine was the Mini Estate. That was my first while you were driving that. I
couldn't believe that they would just hand me the key to an £80,000 car. Do I need to sign anything? No, on you go. See you when we see you. Ooh, it was so cool. It took me ages to find a spot to take pictures of it, and even then it was still rubbish all over the place. But yeah, no, very cool. Very cool. As I say, super soft spot for the i8.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
That's pretty much us for this week. There is, of course, that little bit of parish notes. Don't forget, Wednesday, the 5th of August, that will be the day this comes out. Then we'll be at 8 o'clock. Pardon me, it's later because it's a live stream. At 8 o'clock, we will be talking about and answering questions about recharging around Britain and tidying that off, barring a blog post which may or may not be written by that time. But yeah, great. Your opportunity to ask us difficult questions and put us on the spot. So if you can join us for that would be great. We'll be trying to remind everyone. It's too late. We'll be trying to remind everyone on social media, but you'll know that by then. Yes.
Yeah, and if you happen to miss it live, then it will be on our channel for you to catch up, and you can watch it at your leisure.
Obviously, the trouble is we can't answer your questions during it.
No,
if
that is slightly harder. Not even we are that good.
No. But other than that, don't forget between now and then, you can give us any feedback and share your thoughts for the show at motoringpodcast.com, on Blue Sky at motoringpodcast, on Instagram and Facebook, and on the contact page of www.motoringpodcast.com, the hub of all our activities. Remember, you can support us financially via Patreon. Please leave a review and rating on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or however your podcast app lets you do such a thing. Andrew, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Best way to get in touch with me is if you search for Crack Windscreen on Blue Sky or look for me on LinkedIn under my name. And Alan, if people would like to get in touch with you personally, what is the best way for them to do that?
Once again, it's a Blue Sky, where I'm at AJP Bradley. That's BRADLEY. .bsky.social. I am back from my summer vacations now. So yeah, I will actually be looking at LinkedIn if you want to find me on there as well. As I said, we'll both be back very soon. But until then, I've been Alan Bradley.
I've been Andrew Clues.
And safe motoring.